Wait, what?
Welcome back to another episode of the Junk Monkeys podcast,
Your bi-weekly connection through conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Keep getting really loud.
Just hyper and hyper. Yeah, bitch.
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Randy McLeod. I'm joined by Daniel Mosionier.
What's up?
And he's back in the booth, baby.
I'm back in the booth.
It's crazy.
I sat the last two out.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
It does me well to see you, my
Hello.
friend. We're doing another music episode, and I'm calling this one Music is Magic.
That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah. I like alliteration. It's my favorite thing.
Well, wouldn't a better alliterative like title be like magical musical musings?
Majestic music.
Majestic magical musical.
Well, because we've done musical musings before.
Yeah, but this
like
one's magical.
Yeah, this one's magical. Yeah, we're gonna be chatting about a couple different things. I haven't told Dan what my questions are for him and myself.
I'm totally in the dark.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good
Somebody
time.
help me.
I've kept Dan here. Yeah, we're gonna do a lot of music chat. I'm a little sick, so it might be a little unhinged at some
I'm
points.
a little sick.
Whoa, crazy. Yeah, I hope you stick around for this episode of the Junk Monkeys podcast.
He said like 50 times.
And I'm aware. No, I know. Hey everyone, what's up?
Whoa.
We're actually back within a 2-week period.
Whoa.
As we're supposed to be.
Haven't done that in a while.
Let me tell you.
There was a miscommunication last week.
Well, it's a whole thing.
Yeah, that's okay. We're back.
Yeah, we're back.
Back in black.
Just a quick update. This summer is probably going to be a lot of Daniel and Randy.
Oh.
Noah is doing a lot of on-call stuff for work.
Yep.
And
Brad
is
dead as well.
Also, he's once again dead. No, he's perfectly fine and well. He's working up in Dauphin and is going to be like staying up there. So he probably won't be back for a lot of podcast recordings, which is perfectly fine. We'll have him when we have him,
Yeah.
So, Daniel.
Yes.
It's going to be great chatting with you this summer.
We got to do another creative showcase.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a lot of music.
Yeah, I could read from my my big old story.
Ooh.
Yeah. But that's not what we're talking about today, Dan.
What?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry.
Just really sad about it. I had no idea why I was here.
You put down the music that you brought, and you're like,
my CD that I have. Oh, I'll just set that down.
Yeah.
I guess I'll throw that in the fucking garbage.
Thanks, Rand. No, today we're talking about music.
You had me press a CD for this recording. What a pain in the ass that would be.
There's not even a CD player on the fucking laptop either.
There's no. I don't think there's a CD player on my property.
Shout out to CDs though. Like I know, like
No.
I used to love them, man.
No.
When
I skipped CDs.
Really?
Yeah, there's never a thing for CDs. Went from VHSs straight to digital.
VHS.
Yeah.
For music?
Well, no, for just media.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I was
You never listen to a sick rap album on VHS?
Throw that in the VCR player?
Yeah. Stands for virtually created
recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. What does VCR stand for? Video
on demand.
Not quite.
I don't know. Here, you do your intro. And
I'll do my intro. Hey, what's up, everybody?
Welcome back to the Junk Monkeys podcast.
We are continuing with the bi-weekly format. We're gonna keep
for
doing
now,
that, and it's gonna be a great time. I'm still unemployed, so.
What does nonce mean?
What?
That's what I typed in. What does nonce mean?
Well, I know what nonce means.
Yeah.
But
what does VCR?
A nonce is like a British term for like somebody who's a not good on.
Just stupid.
Just a not good person.
Yeah. I use nonce. You goddamn nonce. Video cassette recorder.
That makes sense.
That's boring.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna quit rambling. Dan.
Yes.
Why another music episode, you may ask?
I did not ask that.
Well,
I was on board.
Yeah.
Oh, why another music episode, Randy?
What a great question, Daniel.
Video cassette recorder.
Not even music. No, I was playing It Takes Two the other day with my friend Tiani.
Yeah.
And wonderful experience, great time. But the final level of that is dedicated to music.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it was this wonderful showcase of like hey, you're for context in this game, you're shrunken down to like into doll size or whatever, and you're like an estranged or like going through a divorce like couple, and basically they're trying to connect with one another again, and you're in the attic, and there's a bunch of musical instruments that like these dolls can like interact with. So it was just so fun going on, like jumping on like little snare drums or jumping on piano keys and like being like, oh yeah, I remember like from growing up, if you press these keys, it sounds like hot cross buns or whatever. Right? Yeah, exactly.
Or doing the knuckle roll.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, man, I forgot how fun music is and like how magical of an experience music is, and that's why I wanted to bring in the magic part. So I started taking notes, and then I also noticed that like I started noticing music a lot more in the things I was watching. So I watched Challengers the other day, which is the tennis movie scored by Nine Inch Nails, Atticus Ross, maybe Trent
Reznor,
yeah. And that score, I was like, God damn! If this movie would have been like pretty good, but the score elevates.
Yes, totally.
And then for another video game, Expedition 33, which is like a French game that came out. It was like an RPG, and the score in that game is like it's one of the things that people hold up and say, hey, this game is fantastic on its own, but the score elevates.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting whenever we talk about media and we talk about anything where I feel like music doesn't always take center stage. Like a lot of people are just like, oh, it's background noise or it's a part of the puzzle, but it's not you focus on the actors or the performance or whatever. But like, I think like, I don't think there's a moment in any media where something is not completely held up by the score and the sound and the music, right? So that's why I want to talk about music today. I wanted to pick your brain on a couple things because I'm like, man, I have such a reverence for music and I didn't even realize it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's one of those, your appreciation for music in a lot of like contexts when it comes to movies and TV shows is sort of, I don't want to say subconscious, but you do, without really intuitively thinking it, know that the music is sort of it's one of the main things that's propping up maybe a show or a movie or a specific scene.
Yeah, an emotional moment.
Yeah, because if you were to change, if you had like this is obvious, but like we're having the conversation. If you had a sad scene and there was sad music playing, you could dramatically alter the impact of that scene just by changing the music, which is a super simple change. But it if your character's dying and you're listening to sad piano music and then it changes to like Enter of the Gladiators or some silly carnival music, that's obviously an extreme example.
Totally, yeah,
but.
Yeah, it's interesting how music can shift the dynamic of what is happening or how you're perceiving something. It's like when I was taking my film class in university, there was Alfred Hitchcock is like one of the guys that are like movie guys, right?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah, and there was this interesting lesson where he was like, how you edit a movie or how you cut certain scenes together can impact how you view, like how your perception of something changes.
Totally.
Where it was, I think it was, I can't remember, I won't go into it, but it's basically like you can view a scene one way, and then if you change the editing, it will change how you see the scene.
Of course.
And how you see a character. And I think music can very much do that too.
Absolutely. The third Godfather movie wasn't cut the way the director like originally wanted because Paramount didn't. The Godfather 3 was sort of... Have you watched The Godfather 3?
I haven't seen any of them.
Oh my goodness.
I know, I'm the worst.
You of all people.
I know.
So The Godfather 3 was like... The Godfather 3 was made like 20 years after the first two Godfathers. And it was done out of like financial desperation because the director's previous job failed or his like play or whatever.
Sure.
And Paramount always had a long-standing like, we'll make a Godfather 3 whenever you want to. So it was done...
We'll make money.
Yeah. So it was sort of done out of desperation. But they refused like the edit. And later, after the film was released, the director and like his team or whatever did a recut where it's longer and it was more what the director intended for the actual like source material. Yeah. So like,
well, yeah. And like that, it makes that much of a difference.
Yeah.
That's why we get director's cuts.
Yeah.
Where it was like, well, the studio and like apparently Suicide Squad was like an absolute mess. Well, I mean, it was like the movie, the theatrical version.
Yeah.
And then whatever his name is, I can't remember the director, but he was like, dude.
Snyder?
No, Snyder did most of the DC stuff, but this was something
I was going to say, there was that big thing about the Snyder cut for Batman versus Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Dawn of
Justice
Justice?
League.
Justice League, yeah.
Which, from what I understand, does make a bit of a better movie, but it's still not a great movie. Anyway, getting back on track. That's why I wanted to talk about music with you today, because there's just been so many pieces of media that have been like reinforcing to me that like, man, I fucking love music. And like, apologies for swearing, pardon my French, but like that's how emphatic I am about it.
Yeah,
like
of course.
I just, and I don't really, I'm not somebody who, I'm not like you, where I'm not creating music. I'm not like making music such a part of my personality.
Yeah.
But it is subconsciously.
Of course.
Like when I notice it in movies and music and TV and stuff. So yeah, that's why I want to talk to you about it. So I have a couple questions for you, Daniel.
Yes.
I'm going to play a quick little what if with you.
Oh, hell yeah.
Obviously, music is a big part of what you do from your day to day.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think? What would in your best idea? What would you be doing if you didn't pursue music?
That's a good question. One that I haven't given an extraordinary amount of thought to. I've given some thought to it because there are some fields or career pursuits that do interest me. I've thought a lot about going to school for things like criminology.
Oh, cool.
I was enrolled and accepted into a law program in Winnipeg, like a pre-law, before I went to ACC for media. So I was going to do that. But I feel like because I've always been a very musical person, and I've known for a long time that's what I want to at least have as a cornerstone of my life, if not the like main focus. I feel like I'd probably just be a worse off person for it.
Fascinating.
Because it's so important to me, and like we've talked about this on like the creative episodes, and I'm sure I know you're familiar with this, but when because we've talked about it, when that spark of inspiration hits, I don't do it because I want to. I do it because I literally have to.
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit, my brain won't leave me alone, and my heart will not shut up about this, and I have to get this and put it on the paper or on the computer or on the strings or wherever it needs to go. So
that's so interesting, because like I'm not quite like that in terms of like writing. This is just turning into a creative showcase. Yeah, but like
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, me too. But no, it's fascinating that I love hearing other people's processes, like I've said in the past, and I like hearing that it's intrinsic to you that, hey, here's this spark of creativity, here's this inspiration. This needs to not exit me, but I need to express this somehow.
Yes.
I think that's really, really cool. And I think that level of drive and that level of passion is so, if anything, I'm jealous of it, because I think that shows like, hey, this is something I need to do. And in addition to something I want to do or I desire to do. So I think that's really, really cool.
I think I'd actually flip it the other way and say the desire comes with the need.
Okay.
Because I like just the way my brain is wired and how much I go hard on music, right? I have to do music, and it just sort of manifests as like, well, I also want to. Yeah. But I'd say it goes that other way. Cool. Like the desire comes first, and then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. Now, I had a follow-up question for that.
Yes.
Why? So you continue to pursue music. Why do you continue to pursue music? Is it because of that? Like, is it because you feel as if you have to?
Only about half-ish do I feel like I have to. The other half is part of it is I feel I have to. Part of it, and not because I have to. Like there's some external force. Yeah. It's I have to because that's what my heart and my mind are like. You're good at this, dude, and that's part of it. Okay. Part of it is I'm good at it. Yeah. You know, and I'll be honest, I like being good at music.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone likes being good at something.
Yeah.
So
Everybody's good at something.
that's part of it. I've met some fucking people in my time that are no. So
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know. That's
No, that's super cool. I think like it's rare. How do I put this? It's rare seeing that people aligning with the thing that they're passionate about and pursuing it.
because I feel like a lot of passions that people want to pursue nowadays are so pushed down by the capitalistic drive to monetize things. Here's something interesting that I've come up against recently.
Please.
The more I get into my music and the better my music gets and the more I make acquaintance with people who are more like in the industry, the harder the push is on me to monetize my music.
Okay.
I don't fucking want to.
Yeah.
If I had the choice and it didn't impact me, I wouldn't monetize my music.
Mm-hmm.
I think that cheapens my resolve to create because I don't create with the intent of monetization. If hypothetically, one day I can do the bare minimum to monetize my music, like selling it on Bandcamp or on getting streamed on Spotify or whatever, and that makes me a little bit of money because people like my music, sure, whatever. But a little while ago, I had a person come to me and say, "Why don't you sell your music on like Envato, which is like a music selling website? Like you can put, here's my song, you can buy it for $200 and it's yours." But then it's theirs. Like their legality, they have the legality to do whatever they want with it.
Yeah.
And I don't like that because it sounds, I mean, it's a little silly, but I'm sure you can relate. My pieces are like my children in that I love them and they all exist for a specific emotional, creative reason. Yeah. And I very strongly feel that you're right. This is just a creative showcase.
No, go for it.
I very strongly feel that the concept of selling my music or monetizing it, it feels not right to me.
Yeah, I really relate to that. The amount of times that obviously I'm in a weird liminal part of my life where I'm not sure what to do next or what to try next, and I'm searching for that thing. And a lot of times people, like, obviously I showcase my cooking a lot. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, why don't you get a job in cooking?" I'm like, not every hobby needs to be monetized.
I can't stand that about social media.
Well, yeah.
You post anything that you try to do and there's always like, turn it into money.
How can we make money off of this? Because it's almost as if like, how can we make this productive? It's like, no, it's productive for me.
Exact. That's a really fucking good point.
Like it's very productive in terms of like, hey, this is how I want to creatively show that I enjoy something.
Yes.
Or this is what brings me happiness.
Almost
the moment, like content, the word content is a problem.
Yeah.
Where the moment you start being like, how can I make content out of this, becomes this rat race of, oh shit, I need to make an upload. Oh shit, I need to fucking, what am I going to make today? I'm out of ideas,
That's
like,
so
but I have to,
real.
for the algorithm, I have to ensure that a new video comes out every single day. And like it becomes this thing where, oh, that's weird. All the fun is out of my passion.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Sorry, I cut you off a couple times.
No, I just list that's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's almost like especially when you post things on social media, it's almost like there's this notion that people have that somehow what you're doing, no matter how interesting or creatively fun it might be, is somehow inherently less valuable because you aren't monetizing it, and you need to do that. It's like I don't fucking want to.
Yeah.
I want to just enjoy what I do because I like doing it
without any external pressure to like.
But that's what the counter argument that I'm sure you're familiar with is that's what you sign up for when you post online.
Yeah, totally.
That's like
you're open to anybody wanting to see you. Well, like not well.
You open yourself up to all sorts of pressure.
Yep,
good and bad.
1000%. And that actually blends into my next question that I was going to ask you. In terms of like, are you confident in the way that the music industry as a whole, and I know it's very big, but like, are you confident in the way that the music industry is right now? Because I'm starting to wonder with Spotify streams being like this primary driver of this is a metric for success, or Bandcamp streams, I'm assuming, or do you sell music on Bandcamp?
You can sell Bandcamp. You can sell on Bandcamp.
But like, these metrics influencing the art. And this problem that we run up against of like art versus profit. You know, like what are your thoughts on that?
That's interesting. I wrote a small paper on like that sort of idea, bleeding into the concept of pop music in when I was in college. It's, first of all, your Spotify metrics and YouTube streams and your Spotify streams and your, you know, those are only really major metrics if you're an indie artist. Obviously a record company is going to want you to get a lot of Spotify streams, but things change dramatically when you step into the professional space of the music industry, at least from the concept of being like on a record label or whatever.
Sure.
So there's that. And then a lot of, I don't know if this directly really goes in line with what you're saying, but a lot of what people, I'm trying to say 500 things at once.
No,
there's a stream of people who do just try to make music for money, and I'm not going to say there's anything inherently wrong with that.
Nope,
it's
that's
not
the system we got.
That's not how I want to do things, but you know, you do you. But when you go into that line of work, you funnel yourself into creating specific kinds of music because you are trying to appeal to a extremely broad appreciation of music nowadays. So if you wanted to make profitable music nowadays, if your goal was I want to make money off of my music, you aren't going to write orchestral music.
No.
You aren't going to create ambient pieces. You aren't going to write solo piano pieces or all the things I do.
Yeah.
You are going to write either a form of hip hop or pop hip hop, or something that follows the top 40 formula,
broadly accessible.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that music, but I do feel like there is maybe a correlation where is music becoming not worse, but is music becoming simpler negatively because of how much pressure there is to monetize and to push your music in a capitalistic way.
It's almost as if it's a funnel where here's all these great ideas, but you need to fit the funnel,
right? And
you need to go through it. Otherwise,
you're not going to make money.
You're going to be outside the funnel, which is great. You're creating art, and which again, people are creating art no matter if they're going through the funnel or not.
Of course.
But here's this thing that's kind of homogenizing a lot of it and creating this thing where it's like, you got to hit this BPM and like you gotta
have a 4 on the floor. And
yeah, exactly. It's this thing where it creates
a template.
Yeah,
a template
to
follow.
Word. Yeah. Until the template changes, and then everybody has to follow that new template.
Yeah. Which doesn't happen at once. It's a continuously evolving thing.
Yeah.
You know, music doesn't sound like it did 10 years ago. Music doesn't sound like it did 5 years ago.
Yeah. Which is cool. I like the idea that music evolves over time.
Me too. I'm always excited to see what the new music trends are. I'd be lying if I said I was happy about current music trends, but I'm not going to disparage anyone for liking the music that they like. No. It's just not for me, you know?
That's the thing. Like my liked songs on my Spotify, which is like my just, hey, I like this song. It's very much like an eclectic mix of, hey, here's this song from the 1960s or whatever, and like whatever, and then here's this mainstream banger that just like caught in my feed. Yeah. And I was just like, hey, this is great. And then I realized later, oh, this is a mainstream banger. I didn't even realize. Like,
I think it's interesting that you even have that realization. Not you specifically, but just anyone in general. I wish we didn't have realizations, oh, this is mainstream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From a conceptual standpoint.
Yeah.
I wish the concept of mainstream didn't even exist.
Yeah.
But it objectively has to. When there's 8 billion people that are consuming, like, it's a bell curve, right? There's going to be a statistical average. And when you ratio that up to 8 billion people, that's going to be a lot of people that like the same thing. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's not what I'm saying. It's just...
You wish that wasn't the case.
I wish there was more... if I could snap my fingers right now and make the entire world population's enjoyment of different genres of music 10 times broader, like everybody, I would do it in a heartbeat. Yeah. And I think we'd probably be better. whether or not we'd be better for that would definitely be up for debate. But I think we'd be better in a creative sense, because there'd be so much more variety out there. And I'm not saying there isn't variety right now. It's almost a self-defeating prophecy of saying I wish the variety wasn't niche, because the second the variety isn't niche, it's mainstream. And it's like, you're just in this feed. But I don't know. There's nothing wrong with anything that I'm saying about like what people like nowadays. It's just you do get this loop of like you push an underground genre to be more popular, and then who am I thinking of, that artist? Shit. Like you push an underground artist to be not more popular, but write more popular things, and then suddenly they become mainstream.
Yeah. And that affects the music.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden we're attempting to reach a broader audience.
Yeah.
Rather than before just doing it and seeing, like, that's the thing with social media or creating content in general, is very much like, or let's say writing, like, you write for what you believe in and what you want to write. You create what you want to create.
Totally.
And if it resonates with you, it may resonate with another person. But all of a sudden, when you have external pressures telling you what to create or how to create,
especially if they're industry,
then all of a sudden the vision gets compromised a bit.
Yeah, it can, absolutely. Yeah. Tame Impala is who I was trying to think of.
Oh, okay. Tame
Impala was, are you familiar with Tame Impala?
I'm not.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, wow. All right. Tame Impala is it's a music project of a guy. He's Australian.
Okay.
And he used to be, I'm not trying to be that guy. I'm not trying to be the hipster that's like, oh, before he got popular.
Totally,
no, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is that Tame Impala used to be very underground, and there's nothing good about being, you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yeah. But he started making music for a broader audience, and he's a lot more popular, and he's a lot richer, and I'm glad for him. I can't do any of his new stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's not what I fell in love with original Tame Impala for.
But I really love the fact that with music and with like anything, we have a record of what came before.
Yeah.
And we can continue. Like, here's this thing that we have imprinted in time and have said, this is what this moment was. And we can go back to that moment whenever we want. Not like in life where a photograph is great and it allows us to relive those memories and remind ourselves of those memories, but we can never go back to that memory, like it fully. Like,
I would also say there's also a bittersweet nature to it, though, of knowing what you had.
Yeah.
Because I sound so pretentious.
No, I want to hear it.
Because it's like, oh, I don't like this artist because he went too mainstream. It's like, but man, you listen to an artist you really liked 15 years ago who was writing stuff that they just wanted to write, and then you listen to them now and it's like, man, this sure is corporatized. Like, I wish
you could have seen how it would have evolved if unaffected.
Not even just that. I just wish we had what we previously had, because you were writing stuff, and not even a specific artist anymore, just in general. You were writing stuff that was cool because you were giving me such a unique perspective because it was from your perspective, and now you're giving me your record label's perspective, and it's like, oh my fucking god.
That's a great point. That's interesting that like we hold on to an idea of somebody and then they go away.
They don't even go away, they just change.
Yeah, change over time. Change over time is like this weird thing where it's like, yeah, but go back and do what you were doing.
And that's also, from another point of view, that's unfair to ask.
Totally.
Because you're asking someone to, not you obviously, well, you're asking this person to just be stagnant in their life.
Yeah.
That's not fair at all.
Like, never gather more experiences to influence your worldview and how you create.
Totally.
Yeah.
And there are some people that do that and they don't go the corporate route. My favorite band, Coheed and Cambria, they've evolved so much, but they've largely managed to stay away from the corporate rock sound by just doing what they like to do. And as a result, they're not as popular as they probably could be, but they don't care because they're writing cool music.
Yeah.
And I think that's very fun because you can evolve dramatically and not be bought out.
Totally. Music's interesting in terms of, with the evolution of music, before we had the radio and we had vinyls and we had CDs and cassettes, right? Like, there were ways to get music, but it was a very closed off and selected. Like, I like the sound of your jib. You're gonna be on the records or whatever. You know, like people going out and like the only way to get a hit was on the radio.
Yeah.
Now the avenues have opened up completely, where it's like Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Spotify,
YouTube,
YouTube,
iTunes, Dozer, like
so many different avenues that the barrier for entry is so low now.
Yeah.
But because of that, everybody has like anything they want at any time. Like the fucking Bo Burnham song, like, "Can I interest you in everything all of the time?" Yeah. Where it's a monkey paw situation. It's a push and pull where it's like, yeah, that's awesome. Anybody can create music and they can reach and connect with so many people in the world because there's so many people that are looking for different types of things. But because of that, the idea of success has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of, well, I'm not in the top 40. Well, that doesn't matter because you reached 40 people and they loved your music. You know, like that's, I don't even know where I'm going with that. I'm kind of just saying things.
Yeah,
it's cool. Okay. So I want to move on to the next point here. Daniel, who do you want to talk to musically? Like, who in the world would you be like, man, I wish that person was sitting in that third chair right now?
Tommy Emmanuel, not even close.
Okay.
I just have the answer to that one.
Tell me about
Do you know who Tommy Emmanuel is?
No.
They are a Australian guitarist.
Okay.
And they just essentially 99% of their stuff is they just play acoustic fingerstyle.
Okay, you sent me a couple of their songs.
Yes.
And I love it.
And they don't. I'm pulling up a picture for Randy right now. Tommy Emmanuel. Wait, please load. There he go. There he go.
Nice.
Yeah, he's an old guy. He apprenticed with Chet Atkins. Do you know who Chet Atkins is?
No, I'm afraid not.
Chet Atkins is the grandfather of acoustic fingerstyle.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't invent it, but he very aggressively pioneered it 70 years ago, or so.
Mm-hmm.
And he really brought fingerstyle as a sort of a whole more towards the forefront of the average player's mind.
Yeah.
And fingerstyle has always been the way I play acoustic guitar, and it's been my favorite way to play a musical instrument. And Tommy Emmanuel is one of the greatest living fingerstyle guitarists. There are definitely people that are better than him technically, a lot of people, but his music is just so... I want to write music like that. That's the big thing. The artists that I idolize the most, it's not that I want to meet them and I want to be starstruck. It's I want to create like they can create.
Yeah.
Because they've reached a level of being able to tell a story with their music that is so above what I can do that I want to aim for that. And that is something that I've aimed for. Holy fuck, his music's hard to play because he's really good. So I'm like,
I've heard it.
I break my hands trying
absolutely.
to learn this, and I would love to have just have lunch with him one day.
Yeah.
So let's sit down. I want to talk to you. I want to ask you questions.
And what would you want to talk about though? Because how do you pick the mind of somebody and be like, how you know what I mean?
Right. There's definitely a level of I understand what he's doing, and it isn't like an academic talking to a more brilliant academic,
of course,
because it's like, oh, I can't even comprehend what you're doing. The math that you're writing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can totally comprehend what Tommy Emmanuel is doing. It's just I haven't gotten there yet.
Sure.
I can see it, and that's the interesting thing about music when you know what you're doing. And I'm sure it's the case with a lot of studies, but when you can see where you're trying to get to, as opposed to if you went back 5 or 6 years. I would see Tommy Emmanuel's playing and I would have no clue what he was doing. Yeah. I have no clue how to get there. That the path to that style of play that I want to get to would be just completely clouded in fog.
Yeah.
But nowadays, because I'm dramatically better, I can see what he's doing and I know how to get there. But it's just that journey is going to be that's going to take me 10 years to learn how to play like that.
Right.
Which there's nothing wrong with. But it would be so to sort of to answer your question, it would be just so fun to just talk music theory nerd with him and ask him about his chord shapes and how the hell do you do a 6-fret stretch with your hand? You break your hand?
Yeah. How do you dislocate your pinky?
Yeah.
To,
I ripped it off the other day. That didn't help me at all. It actually really fucking hurt.
Yeah.
So it would just be. It'd just be so cool to have that music theory nerd guitar conversation with him.
That's awesome. I like, for me, if I were to talk to somebody, obviously we've talked about like, oh, if you could talk to somebody who's alive or dead, who would it be? And it was like Johnny Cash.
Yeah, my answer for that is still the same.
Yeah.
It's, do you remember what mine is?
It was.
It'd be so cool if you remembered. Now there's pressure.
No, I'm afraid not.
It's Israel is that big Hawaiian guy.
Yes. That'd
be so cool.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, it's people. I think musicians just have interesting lives, and obviously we see this with how many biopics come out, right? Like we just got the Bob Dylan one last year. We got Robbie Williams. There's another one coming out for Bruce Springsteen. Obviously those are like. What's the word? They're played up, like they're very much like
dramatized.
Dramatized. Thank you. That didn't quite happen like this, but
yeah.
Anyway, I think that like musicians just have this like interesting spark where I feel like I could sit down, and that's why I love talking to you about music, because it's like you think differently than I do, and I would love to just explore that and see what your thought process is.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything, like if there's just any musician, I'd kind of just want to chat with them, be like, what's going on with that old noggin of yours?
Mm-hmm.
Like how were you feeling when you were first creating this thing? And when it comes to art, it's this tricky thing, and I'm going to bring up Whiplash later, but like it's this tricky thing where art and perfection are these two very butting heads forces. Like,
absolutely.
Where it's very difficult to contend with one while creating the other. And so I love talking to people and being like, are you okay with not creating something perfect? And they're like, hell yeah. I'm like, how? It's this weird thing. So yeah, Johnny Cash, I would love to just like, if I could just have a cup of black coffee with Johnny Cash, like that'd be crazy. And I'm trying to think of other artists that I would love to talk to. And I'm just looking at my Spotify right now to see. But Bob Seger would be cool too. And like
for Bob Seger.
Yeah. Bob Seger would be cool because I would just ask him about Turn the Page live performance recording. What was the energy in that room? Because I've listened to that song so many times, and sometimes there's a song where the live recording transcends the studio recording.
Absolutely.
And I've listened to that song so many times, I know it by heart, and it's this thing where I'm like, talk to me about what that room was like. Because the mood in the song, if you've heard it, like it starts with like everybody being like, woo, let's go, and like clapping and stuff, and then the room just goes silent for the rest of the song, obviously. And then I think there's like one point where he does something that's impressive and everybody starts cheering again. It's like there's this electricity, there's this aliveness going on. And I feel like that's something that doesn't leave people, and that's why I would like to chat with them and be like, tell me about this. What happened? Like, why was this the perfect recording of this song? Because it is. It's so good. And it has a banging saxophone. That's all that matters.
Do you know John Mayer?
Yes.
And then do you know, of course do you know his most famous song, Slow Dancing in a Burning Room? Have you seen really?
Maybe not.
Slow Dancing in a Burning Room?
No.
It's his most popular song.
I know Long Train Home.
I don't even know that one. The live performance of Slow Dancing in a Burning Room is the superior way to listen to that song.
I'm throwing it on my liked songs.
He's got the best solo in that version.
Johnny Cash's entire Folsom Prison Blues like album.
Yeah.
Like, talk to me about the way that I've read some things about it where he was like, hey, for a moment in time, these prisoners had hope in their eyes, or like happiness, because after this performance, after this concert, it's done. Bye. Like, go back to what is life.
Go back to rotting.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Exactly. And that was the first time like a concert like that had been done in a prison of that scale. And I would love to just chat with like Mr. Cash and be like, brother, what caused you to do this? But also like, talk to me more about like that spark in people's eyes, And I think music just does that.
Yes.
Music just, it's such a universal connection.
Yes, it is. It's a great equalizer.
Yeah.
Everyone loves music.
Yeah. It's so cool. I think it's really neat.
Yeah, it's cool. It's neat.
Wow.
It's sick. And other descriptive words.
Wowie. Yeah. So, was there any other ones you would want to chat to, or is that
Not off the top of my head.
cool? Question for you. I know you don't watch a lot of movies, but you do watch movies occasionally.
Yeah.
We were talking about How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah.
When has score elevated media for you? Where, like, memorable moments for you where it's like, damn, the score is fucking propping this up.
I have a very specific story for this.
Go for it.
It's a little long, but
I want to hear it.
so I have an example of but to a more extensive degree where the score transcended the film for me.
Okay.
So you are familiar with my infatuation, the silly infatuation, with the animated film about the wolves.
Yes,
Alpha and Omega.
Alpha and Omega.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, critically, that movie sucks. I'm fully aware of
Yes.
that. That's not why I like it. I like it.
I'm
'cause
not delusional.
It's a fun, lighthearted movie with cute characters and good voice acting. Really good voice acting, actually. Anyways, but if you step aside from that for a second and you look, the guy who did the score, his name is Chris Bacon.
Is his middle name P?
I was thinking that. I wasn't gonna say the joke because I'm not a fucking idiot. But are you seriously? He's chuckling. Pot-bellied pig, Chris P. Bacon. Then she's just dying at it.
Sorry.
You're literally doing what that lady did, just laughing at Chris P. Bacon.
Okay. Back on track.
I thought it. And I wasn't.
I know. But if you did it, I would have died.
Chris P. Bacon. All right.
Sorry. Anyway,
Are you serious?
that's just funny.
Chris P. Bacon. He wrote the score for Alpha and Omega, and I have used. This is how much to the extent I hold that score in reverence. First of all, I think the score is unbelievably beautiful.
Yeah.
That movie is like critically, that movie is like a 3, and then that score is like a 10.
Yeah.
I don't know if have you ever watched that film?
No, I haven't.
Okay, you should, just because it's fun. But you should do it, and you should pay attention to the score because the score is unbelievable. And at the credits of the movie, they play through the whole score, like in one shot.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable how good the writing for that score is, to the point where I have incorporated multiple of the motifs from that score into my music, like multiple times.
It's inspired you.
It's reached that level of like, this is it pushed beyond the movie into the point where, yes, I appreciate the movie, but also the score just on its own stands alone as like a shining, just not example of anything, just example of a good movie score.
Totally.
Do you remember that track I sent you once? It's called I Still Remember You, and it has those sort of like wolf howling sounds, and
Vaguely familiar.
that main motif in that piece is the main motif from the A&O score.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So it was so captivating to me that it stepped away from the movie and has become a part of my musical repertoire aside from the movie itself.
Totally.
So yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That like, and for some people, they probably watch that movie and it's like, yeah, it was a score. But for you, it had this like, you have this reverence for it.
It's just a real, well, because I feel like the people that are just like, yeah, it's a score, don't appreciate it from like a musical or theory perspective.
Yeah.
Because it is written super, super well. And some of the techniques used in that score are just brilliant.
That's awesome.
And it's just so funny that it's attached to such a shitty movie that I
Sometimes
love.
that happens, man.
But yeah.
Sometimes it's like that meme where it's like, okay, we just need like a simple thing. Don't
Get
go
piano on
crazy on
fire.
it. Yeah, exactly.
BTD6 soundtrack. It's just a shitty game about monkeys popping balloons. Don't go crazy. Piano on fire. Tim Haywood writing the sickest score he's ever written.
Yeah.
Godfather.
Okay.
So there is a performance by the Danish National Symphony Orchestra of the Godfather suite of music. It's about 14 minutes long. It's funny that we bring that up. I bring that up because I listened to it like literally yesterday. I would say at least once a month I will go back and I will sit down in my room, turn all the lights off, put my headphones on, turn the volume up, full screen on YouTube, and I will just sit and appreciate the unbelievable, just like you said, straight up magic of the Godfather score. because there's a movie that is directly on one end supported by its score, because The Godfather wouldn't be The Godfather without that,
Right.
the score.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same movie without that score. It would if it just had a generic Hollywood score, it would be a worse off movie.
Isn't that interesting that sometimes the score of a movie is integral to its identity?
Yes, absolutely.
Um,
And The Godfather is a shining example of that.
yeah, I love that. I'm trying to think. I have plenty of like examples of score elevating media for me.
Well, we were talking about How to Train Your Dragon.
How to Train Your Dragon. Let's start with that.
Yeah.
And I'll start with like a weird thing. I went and saw the live action remake.
Is that out?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Is it just a 1-to-1 the first movie?
Very much so.
Okay.
I would like
It's like a 0.95 to 1.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that. I didn't particularly love it. I think it's like it has some of the magic that like the original animated version has,
Yeah.
but it feels like diluted magic
Right.
for me. Because I just think animation is a much more expressive and interesting form
Totally. I
for
agree.
certain things. However, score is obviously like people. When I go on Letterboxd and I look at the reviews for the live action remake, everybody's like, "What do you want from me? The score is incredible."
Yeah.
Like the large majority of the reviews for this movie are talking about the score because it's like, yeah, that's an all timer. That's one of the best scores. Like,
Oh yeah.
I watched the animated version last year, not for the first time, but for like as an adult,
Yeah.
sitting down and watching it. I was like, it's Test Ride. It's when he's on like finally doing the test ride with Toothless, and it's that swelling and that
Totally.
exhilaration,
Absolutely.
and it's something happens to everybody in that audience where they're just like, holy shit,
yeah.
you know.
Weaving through the clouds and the islands.
Yeah.
And there's this big breathing score.
Yeah, man.
Super, super cool.
And it's so cool that like that movie rocks in general.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's a simple, not simple story, but like it is a fairly simple story of like reconnection between father and son and expectation, right? But the score just does so much to allow everything to soar. You
Yes.
know, like pun kind of intended. Yeah, I think that one is a shining example of like. I think there's a really interesting thing with animation and score where both can just go creatively nuts
Yes.
and like creatively like do what you want to do. What's going to make this moment even better? You know, like
Which is a unfortunate sort of rarity because it takes a great it takes every team member involved with that process working at their absolute highest level.
Yeah.
And in that sense, it takes the director and the composer working just at their absolute top,
Yep.
which doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
That's not that you get people that are working at a low level.
Mhm.
It's just like How to Train Your Dragon was the director, the art team, the writers, and the composers all working at 11.
Yeah.
And they just nailed it.
and it shows.
Oh, yeah.
And the problem is the metric for success is money, and
Mhm.
people don't go see animated movies. Like the live action remake made like more than the first 3 movies
What?
already.
That sucks.
And I'm like, damn, that's unfortunate.
That's very unfortunate.
However, it goes back to what we were talking about with like artists like starting from where they were and then getting corporatized a bit,
Mhm.
where it's like, well, yeah, I'm excited that more people get to experience this. Like a new generation of kids are probably going to watch the live action remake and say that that's their version. But at the same time, I'm like,
That sucks.
it's a little bit of a bummer. Anyway, but the score didn't quite hit because it wasn't matching what I wanted the movie to experience or how I wanted the movie experience to be when I was watching the live action version.
Mhm.
But it hit when I was watching the animated version
Right.
because the two melded way better for me.
I agree.
Anyway, so that's an example. And then another time when score really affected me in a movie, Joker, which is a weird one, but that score was one of the most unsettling
It was
experiences.
Unsettling, droning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And say what you will about the movie itself. Like
I
I
like
think
Joker.
it's good. I don't think it's like incredible, but like I think it's really well made.
Yeah.
But the score is the thing where I'm like, holy shit.
I agree.
This is incredible.
Yes.
Like if anything, it's almost like the secret surprise of a movie where it's like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting the score to pop off this hard. But like, she's I can't remember what her name is, but she's from like Sweden, I think, and it's just so like strings, like, and not like the like accentuated like horror movie strings that you hear, but it's just like this uneasy like something's off, and like it sounds like that string's about to snap, much like the character, and I think like those two things meld together so well, and I left the theater and I was like, man, that was a score, you know. And it sometimes in movies it takes a lot for me to be like, the score was my favorite part. But yeah, that was one. Obviously Interstellar. Interstellar's
That's
a score
just
where I was
the
like,
obvious classical example.
Holy, yeah. Did you ever watch Prisoners?
No.
There's a part at the end of Prisoners where the score is popping the fuck off, where is this really tense scene where a guy has to take this little girl to the hospital like very quickly. She's been poisoned or something, and he's driving in a thunderstorm. There's blood trickling from his eye, like into his eye, and you can't see anything, and you're like in the car with him, and as in terms of the camera placement, and the score is just this like very like tense thing, and like the score made me feel something in that moment. And I think whenever a score does that, it elicits an emotion. I think whenever art whenever art elicits a specific emotion, exhilaration in How to Train Your Dragon, unease in Joker, like when you can name it, that's when you're like, oh shit, like this is doing something.
That the composer hit exactly what they were trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Captain Phillips, Captain Phillips. Remember Captain Phillips?
I've never watched it.
Oh my god!
I know, that's a tricky thing.
There's the very end of the movie, like the absolute last scene. Captain Phillips is getting checked out by the medical personnel on the carrier he gets taken onto, and it's just this like long uncut scene. I love. We've talked about this. I love uncut scenes.
Yes.
Just let the actors act, man.
Yep.
It's this long, like multi-minute uncut scene of the like nurse doctor on the bridge on the ship, like checking out Captain Phillips, asking him a bunch of medical questions, and Tom Hanks is portraying the PTSD and the shock, and and the score just keeps getting louder, and it's very Hans Zimmer, big, long, slow breathing strings, and they keep just getting louder and louder and louder, and eventually you can't even hear the dialogue. But it's so you just watch Captain Phillips.
Yeah,
man.
you know what? I'm throwing it on my watch list right now.
Watch Captain Phillips. The ending, I don't know. The ending is so good, and it works because in the scene, Captain whatever the guy what am I going crazy? Phillips, Captain Phillips.
Oh, sorry.
Christ.
I thought you were referring to a different captain.
No. Captain Phillips. He's in shock, and he's trying to talk to this doctor lady, but he's so like lost from the events that's happened. He's having a hard time hearing her, and the score keeps getting louder to reflect that. And it's really cool. Really, really cool.
I love it when the two can coincide so well, like I don't want my score to be like detached from what's happening. Like it's almost as if like everybody, a cliche thing to say whenever you're talking about movies, it's like the score feels like a character, you know? And like sometimes it can. Totally. Sometimes it can feel like, hey, this is like not even supplementary, just integral to how the character acts and how like,
Imagine the Joker scenes with those long droning strings, and then just imagine those scenes without them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be bad. It would be worse off.
Yeah.
You'd be worse off without those.
I agree.
That music.
When the composer can be a part of the production from the beginning. Yeah. Because a lot of the times, like in video games, like I follow a lot of like video game soundtrack creation and stuff like that, where a lot of the time the composer is brought in like late into the project. Yeah. To like.
And then there's this creative disconnect.
Yeah. Because like we need you from the beginning. Like we need you to shape this in terms of score, in terms of writing, like collaboration, man, huge. Another couple shout outs. I won't go into them super deeply. Whiplash, of course, like that score is so integral to the character and how like perfection is this impossible thing, but you want to reach perfection in order for you to justify art, and like the two, like I said earlier, like the two clash so well. It's so good. Outer Wilds is like my favorite video game soundtrack of all time. It elicits so many different emotions in me, of despair, of intrigue, of happiness, and joy and exploration. I fucking love Outer Wilds. Helldivers 2 I put down because like that is the most like patriotic, like, hell yeah, we're fucking going in because of the score. Like, the score is hyping everybody up and getting everybody to be like, let's fucking go, dude. You know? Recently I watched Sinners, and like, I thought the movie was really good, but the score like popped off. I was like, damn, this is a good score. This is one of them.
RDR2.
Yeah.
RDR2. I can't even believe we didn't think of that.
Woo.
Dude, when you're riding back.
Yep. We all know the moment.
Yeah. Or May I Stand Unshaken?
Yep.
Won't go into any more detail, but
still in my Spotify.
And he's lying there.
Oh. God damn, man. Yeah, that score rocks.
Oh yeah.
And then I also wrote down Logan because it was like, I love that movie, obviously, and I won't shut up about that movie. But like the score on that movie, I'm like, fuck, man, this rocks. You know? Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to chat with you about, just recent artist shout outs, music and stuff like that you've been digging.
I listen to a lot of the same music.
Okay.
Porter Robinson, you know Porter Robinson?
No.
What the fuck? That's not surprising. He's like an EDM electronic artist. Porter Robinson put out a new album lately, and I don't like it. It sucks. It's got a very mainstream sound to it, and it incorporates some hip hop elements, and I'm just like, oh my god,
no.
I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of like solo piano pieces lately. Oh, I have a music recommendation for you.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta pull it up. It's this not solo, but it's this like cello, chamber strings. It's called Don't Go.
Ooh, okay.
Don't Go by, I think it's Christopher. Oh my god.
Dennis Coleman?
Christopher Dennis Coleman. Yep.
Okay.
Play that. That's a very delicate piece.
Cool.
You'll have to like listen to that on its own thing.
Yeah.
I started listening to a bit more Elton John.
Yeah.
Which I know you'll appreciate.
Love Elton John.
Listen to some of him.
Mm-hmm.
I've been listening to a lot of funk lately, which is pretty funny.
Funk?
Oh yeah. Love some funk. I don't know. I spend a lot of time in my like replay mix.
Yeah.
So
I like that. For me, Kaleo.
We've done this once before.
Twice, actually.
Kaleo. What are you talking about?
Kaleo put out a new album, and
that.
Unfortunately, it's one where I'm like, I don't feel like this is a repeat listen. There's a couple songs on there where I was like, this is a banger.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I was like, oh, okay. And it's weird because like they've been one of my favorites for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's weird to get an album and be like, eh. Then go ahead.
I was just gonna say it'd be like that sometimes. Coheed and Cambria's most recent album, hate it.
Really?
I don't hate it. It's just I'm not gonna listen to it. I listen to it, Jesus Christ, but not for me.
And then same with Camp just put out a new album, and I was listening to it. I'm like, it's good, and they're doing some new things rather than just like guitar.
Yeah.
Like they're playing with different instruments and using them, emphasizing them. But I was just like, this isn't quite what the other albums were for me.
Yeah.
However, Kendrick Lamar dropped a new album earlier this year, maybe late last year, and I think that's probably going to end up on my Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year, where it's just like, you wouldn't stop listening to this. You need help. You know what I mean? Like, GNX is like one of my favorite albums in general. Like, it's so good. Anyway, found a band called Bleachers that I really like. Mm-hmm. They have an album called Bleachers. Obviously, the self-titled EP. I really, really dig that album. Royal Otis was another one that I really dug. I'm just going to rattle these off. The Struts, I think, is an Australian band. The Beaches, I really like them. Greta Van Fleet, I really got into lately, which is really, like, banging. Nathaniel Rateliff, he's the guy that did that Son of a Bitch song. Yeah, anyway. No. Really like him. Mountjoy, Red Clay Strays. Stan Rogers, that's a weird one. He's just like, he's the guy that does like the East Coast, like, not acapella, but like, is it acapella when, no?
Acapella is just voices.
Yeah, it's just voices. Yeah. Okay. So he does like East Coast acapella, like sea shanty kind of stuff.
Ooh.
And I'm listening to it. I'm like, this inspired my
That's
piece.
fun. Yeah.
I like that. And then Marty Robbins, he's the guy that does Big Iron and like all the very old timey like Western swing songs and like just good. It's just good stuff. I like putting it on whenever I'm cooking. I'm just like, to the town of Earth. You know, like, it's good stuff. And then last thing I wanted to shout out your most recent piece that you sent me. What my love for you sounds like. If you haven't listened to it yet, I highly recommend it. But
I've listened to it.
No, obviously you have. I'm talking to the audience. But yeah, I put in the comments of your video on it where it's like, it feels as if I'm surfacing from the ocean onto a sunset or a sunrise. Because I don't know, dude. You made a banger. You made an absolute banger.
You want to hear my confession?
Please.
I've listened to that piece like 20 times now.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll just be like, because I don't know, I like it.
You should be proud of it.
Believe it or
really,
not,
really good.
I wrote it. Oh, I like it.
Yeah. No, I really
like
it.
that. I like that one.
Yeah. Dan,
yes.
it's been fantastic talking to you about music.
We love music.
We do.
We love music.
What a boring take.
Hashtag we love music.
Do you love music, audience? Let us know in the comments below. Nobody ever fucking goes in the comments below. But that's okay.
Yeah, and if we could get more than 8 views on this one, that'd be cool.
Yeah. I feel like people haven't really been listening to the podcast lately, which is fine. We were taking little breaks and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
kind of did it to ourselves.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Junk Buggies podcast, baby.
Woo!
Some quick shout outs, Daniel. Obviously, thank you for editing our podcast and creating dope music. Cassie Gertzen for running our social media channels. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Creation Nation Makers. Space. You're downtown in Brandon, Manitoba. And thank you, listener/viewer. I really appreciate everything you're doing for us.
Whoa.
Crazy. I woke up like 3 hours ago, so I'm gonna go have lunch.
So I'm gonna go back to sleep.
Yeah, I might do that too. Yeah.
Wow. We love music.
We do. Yeah. So I hope you have a lovely day and go listen to some music, baby.
And yeah, we love music.
Yeah. Did you know? Were you aware?
I was unaware.
Well.
Whoa.
Thanks so much. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye.
You sound like Mike Wazowski, like that lady from Monsters Inc.
I says to Wazowski.